which is an organization that works directly with LGBTIQ refugees. And in that organization, I was running one of the programs that we had, which is called Inclusion Program, and which was basically focusing on building capacity and supporting grassroots organizations that are supporting LGBTIQ migrants. And apart from that, I also do trainings and facilitations on well-being and mainly community building, focusing on queer area based on my, I'm also queer myself, so this is also what I've been doing for most of the time, both as a profession, but also based on my experiences, both in Turkey, but also in Germany as being both a migrant and queer myself. So, and in this workshop, we planned it to talk about a bit of diversity in the workspace. What do we mean by inclusion?
Student consultation, so we want to know, like, sometimes like
Probably that we can talk and learn about
organizations in different topics.
And you can also be other food, by the way, because I'm a sweet tooth, I just put this on.
yeah.
I will help you.
Or maybe even before that, it was just GP. It's not always about, maybe in the media you know more about the physical situation. Exactly. Exactly. It's a lot more common than we have queer. Maybe you heard this a lot as well. So queer terminology, that's because all these identities, as I said, they change within LGBTIQ movements. People, for example, know pride marches as gay pride, but it's not just gay pride, for example.
So the person not only suffers because of the gender discrimination, but it's also combined with racist race from where she
Created by the systems itself. So it's not about discrimination I face is coming from my queerness, not from being a migrant, but in the same country I'm kind of experiencing both. And I'm sure it's very different, for example, as a black woman it's different, or as someone representing another community, like an indigenous community. That helps a lot within the making the space safer, or here are the links. I can maybe do like a resource form to share. It doesn't come off easily, I feel like, for me, for example, links sometimes.
If you grew up in a
Great activist, and so yeah, maybe
People to discriminate them, he says something, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa.
Big place because we have very different experiences, of course. Because we have very different experiences. Things are safe, like the stickers, the posters.
Okay, thank you for your workshop. I really appreciate it. Lots of very important information to share with other people. So could you tell us what would you like the participant to take away from your workshop?
I think the most crucial thing that we highlighted throughout the workshop is that inclusion requires constant work, and we shouldn't take some things granted when we are applying it, and we should constantly check whether our spaces are safe for everyone. So this is the first thing, and also the second thing is curiosity towards the topics we might not be very comfortable or might not feel enough knowledge to talk. So with these two, openness and curiosity, I think safety and inclusivity is possible.
Okay, thank you. And I made a small research about yourself, and I know that you work with LGBTIQ refugees. So could you maybe tell us what are the most important challenges that LGBTIQ refugees face today in Europe?
I think the first thing is the legal systems. How the systems approach LGBTIQ refugees is very crucial. The credentiality assessment processes or the asylum processes are very harmful, especially with the new EU Migration Pact. It will be very risky for LGBTIQ people, and it will definitely make easier deportations. So this whole problem with the European asylum system is targeting all migrants, but the ones who got most affected are obviously LGBTIQ refugees, because there will be now shorter deportations, like faster ones, and lack of sensitivity, lack of services. So this is the first thing at the camps, at reception centers, and after all, a second step is the integration and resource allocation for people. These are the biggest challenges in Europe, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
They've been quite, I come to this bar very often actually, like for myself.
Architecture and the parks there, so I really wanted to
From the start, like really make clear, okay, this person is more like detailed about how people talk about this camp, right? Which is good, but then sometimes
It was just flirting, and it was dark. Then they went in the club, so it was still dark. But it was
night where it gets warmer and the lights get more orange, yellow.
yeah, beautiful in another language maybe. Yeah. And also I think about the
Reflected in the film. Like are there stereotypes? And it was a bit more, yeah, also for
funded by the SURF program of the European Union, or this kind of the civil society organization targeting program.
As you said, my name is Morgan. I'm the diversity officer at UE. So we're really happy to partner with NGO Nest and Diversity Voices to have this amazing event.
thanks all for being here. I'm IT. I like to direct films. I'm a journalist on the side, and my topic is queer representation in films.
What? Just don't touch the bottom.
Yeah, I don't touch it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like the part at the bottom.
Yeah, okay. I'll just, I study representation in films, and I did 3 years research on lesbian tropes in mainstream movies. Yeah. And we had, there were 2 other people from the team of Short Notice, which was the first film on the right, French-German short film. And yeah, what can I say?
Your background. I will start with saying that Ollie uses they, them pronouns and is a queer activist in Berlin defending the rights of LGBTQ plus refugees and asylum seekers. So Ollie is a project manager at ORAM, which is an organization of refuge, asylum and migration. Ollie, would you like to?
Yeah, can I have the mic?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope it doesn't squeak. Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks. Nice to see you all here. Yeah, my name is Ollie, and yeah, thanks Sage for the little introduction. So I work at ORAM as a project manager, and at ORAM we support LGBTIQ refugees and asylum seekers. So we're working directly with the community to make sure that their basic human rights are respected, and to also empower them to live more dignified lives. But yeah, I actually come from grassroots activism and cultural facilitation. So I have a master's in social strategies from Weizensee Academy of Arts in Berlin. And yeah, basically my connection to, I guess, the queer refugee community goes back to 2022 when, or even a little bit before that, in 2021 when I had the chance to be in Ukraine and connecting with a lot of queer activists and artists there, who, little did I know, 6 months later they would all become refugees when Russia invaded the entire country. And yeah, basically across 2022, I launched a project to support queer refugees fleeing in the war in Ukraine here in Berlin, mainly through engaging with the community space in Neukölln, and we kind of opened our doors to the community, and yeah, the space really just became somewhere that the community could come together and collectively grieve, to assess the trauma of the war, and yeah, we did a lot of different kind of cultural programming, which I'm sure I will talk a little bit more about as the panel develops. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure you already did. Okay. I was like, I had some time. Okay, my name is Orhun. I am also known as Kiki, because every now and then I use they, them, but also use she, her all the time, so I'm like fine with all the pronouns at this point in my life. I am a drag queen, a dancer, and also an AI researcher from Istanbul. I guess, I mean, it's funny because like one of the films are like, is a documentary film about me. I feel like I've been talking too much. Because I talk like for half an hour. If you have watched it, I guess you know everything about me and everything I will be saying in the next 20 minutes, but I will still repeat myself. And I think that's it for me. Like, I'm a drag queen, that's what I'm here for.
All three for being here today and for allowing us to start this discourse on such an important topic. And to start, I'd like to just ground the beginning of the conversation in lived experience and representation, and how these things actually play out and show up on a personal day-to-day basis. So to hit our first opening, I'd like to ask either one of you, you're welcome to hop in whenever you'd like. How does a particular film that you've been a part of, or any of the films that are showing, how do they reflect or differ from your own lived experiences or observations? So I guess our next question would be how important is community as a protective factor? And I think, Ali, if you would like to take this question.
In the experience of being a queer refugee in Germany is social isolation, and yeah, I've seen such a huge difference between refugee clients that we work with that feel really isolated and kind of are just like, because of that, feeling really trapped, as opposed to others that are really have the much broader social circles, who, you know, if they're facing a struggle, they're then able to ask their friends, like, okay, I'm looking for housing, can you help? Or I got this letter from the job center, I don't know what the hell it means, like, can you help me interpret this? So community is like, I don't know, it's even way more important than the work that we do at Oran, for example, because it's everything. And yeah, there's a couple of examples I have here. So the project I spoke about already in 2022 and at the community space in Neukölln, which was called Späti. So this was all about community, right? And I think, at the time, we were just basically opening the doors to the queer refugee community from Ukraine, and it was kind of this snowball effect, you know. In the very beginning, I worked directly with some queer Ukrainian artists and activists to put on an exhibition, and it kind of attracted a crowd, and then from there, you could feel this really like tangible need from the community, from this very specific like queer, like it was also very young queer Ukrainian refugees that needed a space to come together because they didn't really feel welcome in, you know, the massive protests that were going on because of their queer identity, and also didn't feel like they could find like a space to come together within queer spaces in Berlin. So we basically collectively created that, and I think it was also like a very cathartic process for the community just to have somewhere that they could feel like it was home, and that was a really beautiful process. But also at Oran, we also run community activities to just to gather the queer refugee community in Berlin. We did a couple of really fun ones last year, and we also did a little bit of drag, actually. We organized a drag makeup workshop together with Queens Against Borders and the Syrian drag artist Raj Rouge, and it was so much fun. We were basically, the ORAM team together with a group of queer refugees, and Raj was there basically as like our drag mama for the day, and she was just like teaching us how to do everything from like gluing your eyebrows down, because that's how you do it, to like the face, all of it, and it was just so much fun because we were just all in the room together, everybody helping each other out, and the feedback that we got from the participants was really great afterwards. The one common point that we heard from people was that, there's just like, for queer refugees in Berlin, there's just so many everyday struggles that you're facing and so many structural issues that you're facing, and coming together in community like that, it's with people that you share a common experience with, it's really powerful because it also allows you to kind of escape from that momentarily and forget about it, and just also have this like cathartic effect. So I'm a big supporter of community.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think doing movies for me was really offering the representation I would have loved to see when I was young. And I remember back then all the movies were only rooted in violence, discrimination, and stuff like this. And I thought, how can we like project ourselves in positive role models and in a happy future or on a happy elsewhere if the only representation we see of us are so bad? And and there were a lot of people making cinema saying, but we want to show the truth, the reality. And for me, in some cases, it's really interesting, and some others, it's like in French, we have an expression of it's like pornography of violence, and how when you show violence, sometimes it's a repetition of violence, and it's like a trigger warning scenes for instance, sexual assaults in movies. For a lot of people, it's really horrible to watch, and I think as for queer violence, for a lot of queer spectators, it's really hard to watch this violence repeat itself, and to also be in a position where you're in alert and you're like, okay, two people are kissing, when are they going to be attacked? And I think it's really important that we can identify with joyfulness or visual pleasure in some films where the queer people are not going to be murdered. So I think for me, like differently to my everyday life, fiction especially allow that we can imagine other futures, not necessarily utopian futures, but something that is halfway between where we are today and where we want to be soon. And I think it's with this positive representation that we can also move forward. And I also saw very lately this concept of punk joy, where it can be very punk and political to show happy and light stories, and especially in the world today, it can be really interesting to have that too in parallel.
Yeah, it's really important to as well show the positive aspects of the community.
Because it's a topic I think a lot about, and especially like of course it is very linked to drag as well for me. I think it's a very philosophical question. I think philosophically, drag as an art form is a lot about claiming attention on yourself. It's sort of an attention performance. You do everything to get the attention, big wigs, big makeup, big personality. It's about like wanting to be seen, I feel like philosophically. And like since I have started drag, there has been different things I wanted to be seen for. Looking back, in the beginning it was a lot about like showing how much of a great performer I am, how that I'm a great dancer. I wanted that like artistic validation. I wanted to be seen as a good performer. But like slowly it became something about like wanting to be seen in my gender journeys, to be seen exploring gender fluidity or playing with gender. And then slowly it became very interwoven with my migrant identity, drag. It became sort of a protest against the racism I have been experiencing in this country. So like I really wanted to be seen, reclaiming the stereotypes that were assigned to me. And I think like later, and as the status quo, I became more interested like doing drag for the community, and like being seen in my community. And I sort of like, looking back, I feel like drag has been a way for me to process things I wanted to be seen for. But like, I asked actually myself this question in my personal life, like, what does it mean for me to be seen? Of course, I think it's something very political visibility, and I became very fast aware that like my mere existence as a Turkish migrant, a Turkish drag queen, my mere existence is like very political. But like I asked myself, did I want to be political when I started drag? I think I just wanted to have fun. And like I wanted to go on stage, but like very fast I became aware that what I consider fun is like very political. Like people kept telling me, "Oh, you're so political. That's amazing what you're doing," and I became this resistance figure, which I loved, and I loved this aspect of drag. But I will come back to what I said in the beginning about vulnerability, because being seen also makes you very vulnerable. This is something I think about, like, with whom do I want to share this vulnerability? It takes up so much energy. I mean, like going back to the example of me coming here, I was so happy, like, to be in this university while nobody was expecting to see a drag queen. Of course, I was also fearing, like, it's not a queer, no offense, but like, it's not necessarily a queer space. And of course, I arrived, people were looking at me. Some of them were amazed, some of them were like very skeptical. I think those encounters are really important, but those encounters also drains like one's energy. I don't know, I mean, the things I have experienced as a drag queen, like people touch you, people don't respect you, so many things happen. And yeah, with whom do I want to, like, the question became more about not how much I am seen, but more about like who sees me exactly. I think I was very interested to be seen as much as possible at some point, but now I'm like, who exactly sees me? So for example, like one consequence of these thoughts are like I perform more in queer migrant events, but at the same time, like I find these encounters where it's not like pleasant to be visible, also very important, so it's a dilemma. So yeah, that's what my take on.
Thank you for your perspective, and thank you for sharing.
Sorry,
It's
that was like a long ride.
No, it's okay, you don't have to apologize. If either one of you don't want to answer, we can move on to the next section. Perfect, thank you.
It exists, so that's good. It exists, but
Policy that is going to reform things, but implementation is really.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna start just by saying.
Which movie impacted you the most today?
I think it was Toby, about Toby. I don't remember the title, but it was interesting because it put ourselves in the inside, and we can really understand her or him, and we can really understand the person, but also the family, and the mother, what she thinks about, how she processes it. So I thought it really interesting to see her point of view.
Thank you. That's the same question. Which movie impacted you the most today?
Actually, I think Short Notice is a masterpiece. Very the enlightenment, the soundtrack, and the construction of the story. It's very, very, very wisely made. It's something really impacting.
And why?
I think I would say the Drag Me to Berlin, because it was a universe I wasn't really familiar with, the universe of the drag queens. And it learned me a lot about this universe and how hard it can be to be accepted in different culture of this universe. So I think this movie learned me the most.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, first of all, thank you for this event and congratulations. It was really great. I think we enjoyed a lot and we have learned a lot. So if you can sum up in few words the event, are you satisfied? And what do you think are the main takeaways that people can take with them?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear that it all worked out, and we had over the 2 days an interesting enough program, and also some, so for everyone, hopefully was something in it for really to take away. I think one key aspect of these events yesterday with the workshop, today the films, and now the panel, that this gave, so to say, I'm also not from the community, so it was about, listening to stories from the community, watching films that tell stories that have been created by members from the community, not the least based on their also very different experiences. So for me, it's always, when I create these kind of events, it's key to get as much members from that community involved. Because I also today had a brief talk here at the university with one of the professors who participated yesterday in the workshop, and he also, because I asked him, like, did you like it? Was it good? Was it then just kind of was too basic, whatever. And I think he was saying, basic, sure, but that then you get to a point where you think actually I thought I know kind of everything about this. You heard it before, you know it, but then maybe not so. Maybe not so sure about how to do it, maybe properly, how to do it in a nice way, how to do it in a more respectful way, and all this. So it's important for then all of us together, and then this all of us together means it's the question of allyship, and the community also is in the need of allies. How can we really make a connection one to another? Because I want to listen to your story, I want to hear about your experience, and then you can help me a little bit to know more about your life, and then it's kind of a certain give and go and give or give and back, in both ways. And I think that yesterday, today, those people that we just invited to join from the community to contribute something, they were also I think they are happy. They felt respectfully treated and just a part of it, and to have this feeling, and I think that's okay too. I am happy, and I think that's what I was going for. So I'm happy it worked out.
Again. I think it was a lot of very new information for a lot of us. So, and also the movies were really moving. So
it's also great to hear. Yes, really one as the others. Yeah, definitely great films. Of course, we could have continued the discussion longer and longer. Yeah. Just so many questions just come up, through this talk. But yeah, it's a small event. It's just kind of
not so small.
And for some, not so small, but maybe I think there was also kind of from the beginning, let's be just kind of clear a bit about the objectives. That in some parts it's maybe also for some of our audience guests, whether from the university or outside, it's getting deeper into that kind of conversation, to gain more knowledge about it, to hear more stories, and then kind of feeling in the end somehow closer to their topics, challenges, lives, and you feel like, I kind of get there. I'm with you now. Good. Then we have it.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you very much.